How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, do me a huge favor, go down and subscribe before we get started into today's video. A video that I made in the past was a yearly breakdown cost of how much it costs me to own a Mustang. But in that video, I didn't talk about a couple of things, and one of the biggest things and biggest costs per month that I have on this Mustang. But today I'm gonna break down how much I actually spend every single month to keep the Mustang on the road and to be able to drive and own this car. With that being said, I need to go spend some more money on this car and get some gas, which is one of the biggest consumables that this car has. And because we're going to take it out, we get to hear a little bit of a lukewarm startup. Always sounds good on startup, but let's take it out and get some gas into it because I'm basically out. Now, consumables in this car, other than one of them, is very hard for me to tell you how much I actually spend. Now, I can kind of average out and guess how much I spend on gas. I can kind of average out and guess how much I spend on oil, but things like brakes and tires, coolant flushes, transmission like oil, and all of those different things I haven't done yet because the car isn't old enough to do. I can't average those out into how much I'm paying per monthly without having some of those services done. But at the same time, it's a service that I'm not doing all the time, so it's weird to calculate some of those things into it. But I could also calculate, like, this is how much it's going to cost me to do a brake job when I hit 50,000 miles. If I average that throughout how many miles I do and all of that and do the math, I can figure it out. But it's one of those things that I'm going to do it in like a 50,000 mile update or a 30,000 mile update and not a month-to-month breakdown, if that makes sense. One of those things, which is oil, I will break down because that's something I do quite often. It really depends how much you drive and how much I drive. So I'm going to tell you guys my monthly cost of gas or kind of estimate how much it costs me every single month. But again, some months I could drive more than another. Some months I could have the car parked totally. So it's really hard to judge that type of thing. But I'm going to kind of average it out the best I can for gas cost and for oil cost and go from there, I guess. Well, there are some things I have to pay on a monthly basis, so we'll talk about those as well. Got a little bit of an underpass. This car sounds so good. Gas is currently very expensive. $4 per gallon for 91. A police officer just pulled into the gas station. I don't know if you guys can see the Explorer there or not. But we're just kind of gonna sit here and wait for him to leave. So I filled up $20 worth of gas, which is about 5 gallons, which is just about half of the Mustang's tank. If you guys remember last year in January when I went to Texas, I talked about how small the Mustang's gas tank was. Well, I just filled up about halfway because gas is a little expensive right now. Filled up 5 gallons for $20, and that got me half a tank. So about totaling a whole tank would be anywhere between $45 to $55, depending on how much the gas costs and whatnot. Right now, if I was to fill up all the way, it would cost me about $44 or so, because I did have a little bit of gas when we started. Again, it depends how much you drive a car, but I'd say I fill up anywhere between 2 and 3 times a month, sometimes 4 times a month. So let's just say I fill up 1 time a week for about $45. It really depends. Last year I didn't drive the car at all. I probably filled the car up like 1 time in December, and that's it. This year I've been daily driving it, and I've been driving it on the highway, getting really good gas mileage, getting about 28 or so miles to the gallon. I think the average pretty much has been about once a week I filled up this car. Speaking of monthly costs, I'm at the Ford dealer to get the Bronco's first oil change. Speaking of oil changes, let's talk about how much it's going to cost me in the next 6 months, averaged out to a month for an oil change. So for the Mustang, I probably get an oil change every 5 to 6 months in this car. I drive a little bit under 1,000 miles a month. Sometimes I drive more, sometimes I drive less. Like I said, it really averages out to about 5 to 6 months. I need an oil change in this car. That being said, every single month roughly costs me anywhere between $10 and $11. Like I said, brakes, clutches, and tires and things like that, a little harder to calculate because they're over such a long period of time. Could calculate them, but I'm gonna leave them out of this calculation. A thing I do once every 6 months, 2 times a year, sometimes maybe 3 times a year depending on the year, is oil. And that's something that definitely is always in the back of my head. Hey, when do I need my next oil change? Rather than, do I need tires just yet? Because most likely I can get 20, 30, 40,000 miles out of the tires. Probably like 20, let's be real. I just drove through a huge puddle. So another cost that you may not think of is cleaning the car. So especially when you live in Wisconsin, when you have salt and things like that, you're gonna need to clean the car. I usually clean it by myself at home, so it doesn't really cost me all too much. I can go 2 to 3 times washing a car and spend less than $10. But in the winter time, I might wash my car 2 or 3 times in a month, and I might pay $8 for a touchless wash so it can get underneath my car, and also because it's usually really cold outside. I'm just gonna say it costs $10 a month to keep the car clean, and I bring up cleaning costs not only because it's a Mustang, but even a car like my Lexus, you have to clean these cars, otherwise they're gonna start to rust out. No matter what car you have in this state, you need to make sure you clean it at least once a month, especially during the winters. It's just something you have to do to take care of your vehicles. And then we have the last two, which are the biggest costs. We're gonna go over to the office and talk about them and narrow them down. This is what really matters when you're looking into buying this car and seeing whether you can afford it or not. And I always get asked, how do I afford the car? I think a better question than how do I afford it is how much does it cost me every single month? Because you might be surprised at how much it does or doesn't cost. So insurance in the car definitely isn't cheap. I talked about insurance probably about 2 years ago. How much do I pay? Back then, I paid about $80-something, so about $84 a month per month for insurance. We do it by a 6-month plan, and insurance for everyone is going to differ a lot. You can get different rates depending on how you do it, how many cars you have, what all is associated with your insurances. That being said, I got a speeding ticket. That speeding ticket brought up every single car's insurance. So with all the rates being jacked up a little bit, the Mustang comes now to about $100 a month, which still isn't bad at all for my age, the car, how much horsepower it is, and the value of the car. And now to the biggest cost, to the thing that matters the most. How much do I pay monthly for my car loan? Because I do have a car loan on this car and I don't have it paid out in cash yet. During the time I paid roughly $10,000 down and the loan came out to about $26,000, $25,000, something like that. And I pay $420.75 a month. Now, I don't really owe too much left on my loan, so I hope to be paying it off by the end of the year, but I guess we'll see how it goes. Totaling everything up, I'll put the total on the screen. I'm not sure how much it is because I haven't added it up yet, but 420 plus another 100 plus probably another 100, so probably around $600 a month. I might be completely off. That's what I'm thinking right now. It's going to be around $600 a month to be owning this car every single month. Keep in mind, some of those things, I don't really see any return on the money at all. Consumables, washing your car, cleaning your car, there's no real return. You use it right away, right? Insurance, you use the insurance. You don't get anything back from the insurance. If you don't crash, you don't get the money back. But as far as the car loan goes, you're paying the car off. The car might depreciate in the meantime, but I'm not anywhere near upside down in my loan. So I'm putting money kind of into something, and I can pull it out if I wanted to by selling the car. But really, I don't think the Mustang is really the most expensive car in the world because there's not really too many maintenance things that go wrong with it. There's not like a maintenance bill I'm paying every single month other than oil changes and simple consumables. Now, the only thing I can think of that would be a little expensive is number one, the insurance and the gas. The car itself is not too expensive, but you always have to consider how much your insurance is going to be. So if you're looking to get one, you should call your insurance agent because sometimes it can be $300 to $400 a month. And it kind of comes out to just about how much you paid for the car, so it doesn't really make sense to get the car. For me, I knew I was in a position where the insurance wouldn't be too bad, even though, $100 a month. You can look at it both ways. It's good for my age and everything and for the car, but it's also a lot of money to just be, it's about $1,200 a year, so it's give and take a little bit. That is all I have for this video, though. If you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.